Yeah. How about Shania Shabbat? Come here, Shabbat. What's up? What's up? Acts 17, fam. Only the evil down my people, we ain't equal, made a Lord slay the evil. Hey, check out my people, we got Edom, trying to beat them, made the Lord take his wings away. A little wine needs my mind, may Yahweh help the blind see another day. So don't be foolish to the movement, cause it's proven we the truest in the U.P.K. And if I fall my eyes with my heart's my conscience, my heart's inside this. I'm like Paul, they plotting when I talk of prophets, Acts 17:5. If I recall the violence, yeah, they all gon' die quick and we all gon' watch it. Yeah. So I'm calm as I said, no, they can't stop it. Nah.
See, I was trying to find my way, the devil's all up in my way. The devil real, can't you feel it breathing? Killing niggas for no reason, guess it's killer season. Satan always sitting, trying to anti my sins. Something gotta give for all the good that I put in. Lord, please forgive me, I was growing up with monsters, so I had no other options. I was glad I'm not up in the pen, instead I'm writing with a pen, so it's simple to understand. Let the weak say I'm strong, put the meek where they belong. Let the sheep say I'm away. And if they don't, then I'm away till every Jew make it say, every Jew ain't gonna be saved. On that faithful, dreadful day, hope I get to see the day when every day will pass away. Put our minds together, I'm the one and brother. We lost 12 tribes, let us find each other.
Only the evil down my people, we ain't equal, made the Lord slay the evil. Hey, check out my people, we got Edom, trying to bleed them, made the Lord take his wings away. A little wine needs my mind, may Yahweh help the blind see another day. So don't be foolish to the movement, cause it's proven we the truest in the U.P.K. And if I fall my eyes with my heart's my conscience, my heart's inside this. I'm like Paul, they plotting when I talk of prophets, Acts 17:5. If I recall the violence, yeah, they all gon' die quick and we all gon' watch it. So I'm calm as I said, no, they can't stop it, Acts 17:5. We ain't equal, made the Lord slay the evil. Hey, check out my people, we got Edom, trying to bleed them, made the Lord take his wings away. A little wine needs my mind, may Yahweh help the blind see another day. So don't be foolish to the movement, cause it's proven we the truest in the U.P.K. And if I fall my eyes with my heart's inside this. I'm like Paul, they plotting when I talk of prophets, Acts 17:5. If I recall the violence, yeah, they all gon' die quick and we all gon' watch it. So I'm calm as I said, no, they can't stop it, Acts 17:5.
The pivot and strike finish the kill. Influenced by might with every sentence reveal. I won't pay back, fuck a dollar bill. Remain calm as the pressure build. Gotta endure until I let this pump whistle let my focus and memory and empty till. I only live to do my master's will. I.S.U.P.K, motherfucker. Ain't no cowards on this battlefield. God is straight, but made greater. In my return, left to my mistakes. Every error was a lesson learned. Now I don't move, let's it get approved. Won't take a step till it get confirmed. Armed and tank, it was made for our sakes. March like a tank. One step will make the ground shake. My people sick in their head, Lord, let this truth spread like an outbreak. Bring hell like the crackers can't escape. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. No more payback for the scars in the slave memoirs. Till Christ arrive, I can't let it slide. Ignore the lies. The only free will that's before your eyes. It's life or death, nigga, you decide. This heaven was made for me and my fellow. I patiently wait with my eyes on the sparrow. And I pull the trigger while my lips kiss the barrel. Before I ever let a white bitch do me like Othello. I want out this wicked life. I die for the cause. Just to hear the truth about every word I say. Cause I know my victory on the way. Opponent, nigga, walk my nigga hard and I won't give up. Could you tell me about this God that you feel so much? And why you look so tough? It's real, I be walking with the makers. Boy, I like it's hard, but I can't give up. My nigga hard and I won't give up. Could you tell me about this God that you feel so much? And why you look so tough? It's real, I be walking with the makers. Boy, I can't be touched. Can't do it in clutch. They hate but they can't doubt us. We princes of the power, what you know about us? Evil all around us, but a nigga straight. I told you I can't be touched. Holy angels walk at my place. And I'm grateful for the words that had me to live. I'm hungry for the glory, but I ain't eating till I feed my next. One West, what I die for. Attire out the book of numbers, this rifle from the Archangel Michael. My niggas rebels, you can't deny them. It's 144. I be running to and fro with the Allah higher. My I.S.U.P.K soldiers ain't no folding open. For the crowns, fuck friends, we want the million. In the election centers, I hope I make it through. Give a damn what a bitch think, as long as my niggas know I'm true. We straight your kind to get success. We make it through the eye of the steel, nigga. This life may be hard, but I can't give up. On my nigga hard, and I won't give up. Could you tell me about that you feel so much? And why you look so tough? It's real, I be walking with your niggas. Watch like they be hard, but I can't give up. On my nigga hard, and I won't give up. Could you tell me about this God that you feel so much? And why you look so tough? It's real, I be walking with your niggas. Boy, I can't be touched.
Purchasing tracks together.
Know the people been waiting for a minute for something authentic. Came in the truth and bossed in it. Made niggas recruit on a false image. I.S.U.P.K on court. Now who the fuck brought scrimmage to words for soft fix? What is? Real witness, not affiliate with feminine symptoms. I know you feel me, nigga. This is deathbed to hip hop. You don't stop that weak shit, I'ma mix your lean with some grim rock. When the last time you heard it this roll? What I wish for is this roll. What I wish for is when the earth inherited by the piss fall. We've been a war, them the ones I'm taking risks for. Ain't got no picks or no cars to hold. Holy angels watch my steps and block out my soul. Can't let them leave my body cold. I know you feel me, nigga. Let the wicked weep and the meek prevail. God never been 50-50. I shall now break the sleeper cell. Let the righteous cry, silence the pretender. A rebel without a cause, as long as I remember. And taking the kingdom, the only thing on my agenda. Can't avoid me, nigga. Middle finger to the ones that try to destroy me. Revenge your beauty, I'm a beast. I told the bitch she can't eat unless she join me for dinner. My God ain't got no regard for a sinner. I'm powerful on him like timber. I know you feel me, nigga. In the odds and terror, I stand still. Go to work for the colony and bring it back to the anthill. Plus everything I drop heavy as an anvil. Show you how to stand like a man in this damn field. I know you feel me, nigga. Fuck equality, it gotta be one man win and the rest lose. Waves devastating, I'm calculating my next move. U.P.K when real niggas seek refuge. Body shots for bars that'll get you bruised. My niggas whole record, check the Lord attitude. I came to fuck if you move on your Lord holiday like I'm Mr. Scrooge. Resurrected from the grave, walking from the fall. Bitches in my eyes, gripping the mic, screaming God bless the underdog down by the letter. And live by that protocol, walk by faith, not by sight. Ain't no open for like that's how a war resist. Will get poured into a world that never left me. I will endure. Election will be sure, correction will be swift. No Will Smith, but I am legend. What else would you call the killer of deception? A leader got soldiers on post in every direction. All going like a German shepherd. Young and a restless, spread honor like a diamond necklace. I know you feel me, nigga. We love to bombard their whole operation. Certified priests, prophesying this my occupation. This shit outrageous. They done made the truth outside. That's why we on the corner crying aloud, looking hostile. This U.P.K style, they stop now. This warfare couldn't last one round. Let the oppressed rise, and let the rich mourn till the sundown. Enough with this shit, about to make it hot, call it compound. This for my niggas, put the guns in the drugs down. Dwelling in peace in the Lord, call for the blood. Hey, try to decide my death. Ain't got beside yourself. Sworn drawn for what you perform. How you gon' hide yourself? Devil got to die for his lies and his dreams. Ain't got no love for the practice. No, just cruel intentions. And then my father's house is spinning mansions. I got plenty bitch. For the adventures, this your death sentence. I'm talking about slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter. They can't do that right. They feel the world with lies. They die for your skin. You gon' die for your pride. I'm talking to you. So warn for your life. Try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You gotta hear, let them hear. Till the devil. Yeah, slaughter, yeah. Now they shook from vicious words out this handed book. About to take these rappers back to school. Buffalo standing and hook. They crossed the line, ain't no coming back. You became no cowards. The only thing sweet is the honey jet. Righteous is the Lord. Give me rest from my sorrow. And hang down death for the devils. There's no tomorrow. Why? Cause they violence leave a man a stiff corpse. You see a flag in the badge, I see horns in a pitchfork. Go ahead, so please believe it. Your white man is a demon, and I ain't gon' vote for them to free me. They did it to me. They call the proper the smartest knife till they broke like ceiling. You got this nigga on his knees. They wanna have peace. We screaming, let this bitch burn at 1,000 degrees. I'm laying in the bosom of revenge. I told her I'd do anything she pleased as I squeeze on the double D's. Fuck you mean? I'm talking yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter, yeah, slaughter. They can't do nothing wrong. They feel the world with lies. They die for your skin. You gon' die for your pride. I'm talking to you. So warn for your life. Try to destroy my people. You gotta pay the price, nigga. You The police just shot him for no apparent reason. No reason at all. They asked for license and registration. That's the police officer over there that did it. With the black on. I can't really do shit to make understand. I can't believe they just did this. I'm fucking. They can't do nothing, brother. The fear of the world will lie. Ain't down for your skin. You gon' die for your pride. I'm talking to you. So war for your life. Your life. I destroy my people. You gotta pay the price.
Shalom. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, Kamal 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding GEN.YAHANNA. Since 1969, we've been teaching Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians our true identity according to the Bible, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. And of course, that our oppressor, the same man that invaded these lands in 1492, the same ones that sat there and stole our brothers off the west coast of Africa, same ones that marched us into the reservations, is nothing more than the devil that the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
And today is the Tuesday Brotherhood class. And we're going to be going over the importance of us not depending on these other heathen nations and their brotherhood to bail us out of whatever it is that we have going on as a people.
Right.
So let me share the class real quick. We're going to be starting the book of Judges, chapter 14 and verse 1. Because us as a people, we've been depending on, the brotherhood and the mercy of not only all these different nations out here, but especially the mercy of our oppressor. You understand? The same one that has been afflicting us for over 400 years. And without them even hinting or making a notion of any type of any kind of change of heart, I mean, we just simply believe one day they will make a change. One day they'll see us as human beings and they'll give us all of their love. And we got to realize it does not work like that. It never has throughout the course of history, and it never will. One second. Come on.
Close it up right there.
Come on. So is it a page or?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I was trying to do the live and I couldn't get it. So I was hoping you could figure it out because that's the one we got set out for yesterday. And usually I could set it up live, but I don't know what's going on with it. I'm not really technically sound like that.
When I went to the thing, it said watch party. So if you can do that, that'll work too. I don't really know how that thing works, but anything just to stream the class.
That's mainly for like videos that are live streaming right now or that you have saved.
So you can get it.
Nah, it's not popping up at all.
Is there a way you can share it to the Columbus page? Off of your feed?
Okay, here it is. It just popped up.
So it just went over there.
Mm-hmm.
No sign curse.
On the board. All right, let's go ahead and get started. You got that? Book of Judges, chapter 14 and verse 1. Khan.
You said you want to start at Judges 14 and 1?
Khan.
No sweat. Judges 14 and 1. Judges 14 and 1. And Samson went down to Tiamat and saw a woman in Tiamat of the daughters of the Philistines.
You understand? So we're getting into is the story of Samson. You understand? Where if you look at chapter 13, you'll find all the hardships of his birth. But what we're about to be getting into is his it's a middle-aged life, and where things are going to start popping off on him showing brotherhood towards his people. You understand? Which with him coming against the Philistines, this heathen nation, you understand? I mean, that alone speaks for itself.
Right.
You had something you want to say?
Kind of, but good. Also, I believe he was from the tribe of Dan, which ended up getting dissolved into the other nations. He's also a Nazarite.
John.
He's a Nazarite from birth. I just thought that'd be some things to point out for the people that really don't know the story of Samson.
Khan, yeah. I would say, if you go to the previous chapter, it'll tell you all about his lineage. You understand the code that it is that the Lord intended for him to live by, which is being a Nazarite, and how it is the Lord had blessed that brother. Go ahead.
Judges 14 and 2. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Tiamat of the daughters of the Philistine. Now therefore get her for me.
So
wife.
So Samson sat there and went into this heathen land, into their city, and he saw an African that caught his eye. And saying he figured, you know what, she looks good. I want her. I want that. Saying which is what really every single brother does in the world. You understand? A lot of us are out here sleeping with the absolute worst of our oppressors' women. And saying the worst of really all these different heathen nations. And the same thing goes for our sisters. But one thing we don't realize that we're going to be getting into is that with us doing all this mingling with these heathen nations, that's really weakening not only the individual, but our nation as a whole.
Right.
You understand? Because that ends up basically buying our loyalty to this other nation instead of us giving it to our own. Go ahead.
Right. If I could, that's a heavy point you're bringing out, like you said, is weakening the bloodline.
Right.
And that's something that you understand when it comes to your goddamn dog. That you have a pit bull. You're not about to breed your pit bull with a Labradoodle.
Right.
No, that's going to weaken the bloodline. Dogs and cats don't mix. Israelites and Hamites don't mix.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And like I said, that's such a heavy point that you brought that out. Because then another thing is that along with that being said, you're weakening your own bloodline. The one thing that you start to do is you start to take on the customs. So you start to take on the customs of the heathen.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? 9 times out of 10, when an Israelite deals with a nation, whether it be man or woman, whether it be an Israelite man or Israelite woman, 9 times out of 10, that Israelite will forgo their customs and start to take on the customs of the heathen.
Right.
Each and every time.
So that's a heavy point you brought out because, I mean, with all that intermingling, like that was one of our oppressors' biggest tactics in order to basically bring Gad or so-called Native Indians into accepting his own, beliefs, his own ideals, like Christianity. And so they'd sit there and let, these mighty warriors that were all about their people, their tribe, marry one of their women. Next thing you know, they're a Christian. And they're sitting there turning on their brothers, letting, forts and towns and all these different things that our oppressors established, letting them know that there's an attack coming and ultimately leading to his brother's demise.
Right.
Go ahead.
Judges 14:3. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of their brother? I don't know what's going on with this. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. He says, so Samson's parents came to him.
I'm gonna read it over.
Go ahead.
Judges 14:3. Then his father and mother said unto them, Is there never a woman among the daughters of brethren or among all my people?
So Samson's parents sat there and said, Why do you want to be with this heathen? Why do you want to be with this African woman?
Right.
Why would you not choose one of these gorgeous Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian sisters to take to be your wife?
Right.
You understand? And that's something that so many of us as a nation suffer from. And it's just so shocking because, Samson, he was brought up to, know that it is wrong to marry outside of your nation. But little did his parents know that the Lord had something special intended with all of that. And saying, because the Lord is a masterful tactician. Go ahead.
Right. And if I could,
go ahead.
Like what his parents are saying is so righteous though. Like,
right.
Because I remember, man, being a little kid and seeing and hearing things that I didn't really understand at the time, and I, being a Christian, thought that, well, it doesn't really matter, even though to me it mattered.
Right.
But I'm talking about for them, like, well, they love who they love and all that crap.
Right.
But for me, growing up, I've always wanted to be with my own. I never thought about mixing my blood with anything else. You know what I'm saying? I've always wanted to be with a Black woman. You know what I'm saying?
Most High in Christ.
So, like, seriously, like, that was just always my thing. I could never see myself with a white woman raising, white kids and stuff
Right.
like that. I could never see it. But like I would always see people like inter relationships.
Mhm.
How you say it?
Interracial
Interracial
relationships.
That's because it's like I would always see it, but it's an
Right.
anomaly in my
It's like foreign to you.
Yeah, it's foreign to me. You know what I'm saying? So an interracial relationship, and I would always see parents always getting offended.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny though because when white parents do it, you know what I'm saying? So like when oppressor parents do it, and they're like, "No, you're not going to be dating outside your race, X, Y, Z." Everybody seems to understand it.
Right.
Everybody seems to understand it. But when a black parent does it, whether it be the father or the mother, and say like, "You're not marrying this white woman," or "You're not marrying this white man," and there's a problem, then all of a sudden there's a problem.
Right.
Then all of a sudden it's about who you love. You can't help who you love, and that's such a heavy thing. And one more thing I want to touch on. It's an old episode of Fresh Prince, right, where Will Smith auntie is getting married, right, and the family never met the husband, right. They was only told about the husband. So then when they meet him, he's a white boy, right? And everybody is like, "What the hell is you doing with this white boy?" So of course everybody, even though they don't want it to happen, that we can't let her like her. We have to support her. XYZ, Blase School. And then Will Smith, mama like, "Nah, I'm not supporting that. You're not marrying that white boy." She's like, "I'm gonna marry him anyway." She's like, "Well, I won't be at the wedding." And everybody turned against her and made her seem like she was doing something wrong. When really that was the spirit of the Lord. Like, what's wrong? Like, and she asked her, "What's wrong with you not getting a black man?
Right.
Like, get you a black man. What is wrong with that?"
Right.
And once more, the Lord has given us 12 flavors. You get what I'm saying? If you like Neapolitan ice cream, then you in luck because you got 12 flavors. You got whatever you want, you can have. You get what I'm saying? As long as it's under these 12 tribes. So to be looking at a Hamite, be looking at a goddamn Edomite, be looking at a Moabite, you know what I'm saying? Any of these goddamn heathen nations. Like that is so goddamn sick and disgusting, and the Lord is against it. So
right. And heavy point you brought out, other one. Go ahead. What's up?
I never mind, I got it. Feed is messing up, so lucky. We good.
Was it on Facebook?
Okay.
It'll auto refresh.
Okay, that's right. Judges 14:3. And his father and mother said unto him, "Is there never a woman amongst the daughters of thy brother, or amongst all my people, that thou goest and take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine?"
Understand? So his parents, after grilling him about, why would you not want one of the 12 tribes? Why would you not want the greatest women on the face of this earth?
These blacks, Hispanics, and Native
Americans. Right. You understand? The greatest women on the face of this, just to go for some disgusting African. You understand? One of these heathen nations. Why would you want to do that?
Right.
When these heathens are nothing compared to whether it's a woman, a man, or a child. They are nothing compared to the nation of Israel.
Right.
You understand? And this brother's parents had the absolute right spirit about it, and damn near looked down upon him because, I mean, why would you sit there and make a relationship with your enemy?
Right.
You see, a lot of our people out here in the world, we think, oh, shoot, if we can join hand in hand, if we can have children with these people, make relationships with them, then we can change them. We can make it better for the future generations, when that's not what the Lord intended, and that's not the spirit of these people. So it's been 400 years, and these people still do the same thing that they always have. You see, right. And not just our oppressor, but it's the same thing for the Asians, the Africans, the Arabs, East Indians, all these different heathen nations. They all view us the same way that they always have. All you gotta do is go look at history. We was taking heathen wives back then. Our women was taking heathen husbands. Ain't nothing changed.
Right.
Go ahead.
If I could, that's a heavy point once more. The thing that we don't understand is that their customs is this, these heathen customs. when they kids or whoever marry outside the family, they disown them.
Right.
They are no longer a part of that family. Even to this day, with interracial relationships, when you see black and white relationships, right? 9 times out of 10, that white side of the family don't mess with them kids.
Right.
Whether it be a white woman or a white man, it doesn't matter. The white side of the family, very few and far in between mess with them kids. You get what I'm saying? See, they're not there. It takes for the kids to be born. You get what I'm saying? For the kids to be born, and then for them to actually see the child, and then they'll start to try to love the child and have a relationship and build a relationship. Other than that, 9 times out of 10, like I said, there's very few and far in between that you see a white family accepting an interracial child. Like some of the family will accept it, but not all of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Most of the time they disown them, especially with like the Moabites. The Moabites, like when and marry a heathen husband, they are disowned from the family. Whenever the family, what is that? When they receive and their family inheritance and all that, they are shut out of that. They will no longer receive the family inheritance. They will no longer be a part of the family. Like the Japanese, they can't even go back to Japan. The Chinese, they can't go back to China. Them kids over there, they can't take their family over there. They are disowned and disavowed.
Right.
Even before then, even if we go back just less than 100 years ago, like they was putting them to death for that. They kids would get caught in an interracial relationship. They putting their own goddamn kids to death.
Right.
Because you have dishonored the family, you have embarrassed the family, you have tarnished the family name. You get what I'm saying? Now what need do I have for you? It's time for you to die now. That's how serious these goddamn heathens were about them and their seed intermingling with us. And like you said, and somehow in this Christian philosophy, we want to take on like breeding with them is going to make them accept us and love us.
Right. Hey, that was such a heavy point you brought out, Audubon. You know what I'm saying? Because that's exactly how my mother's side of the family is. You understand? Right. They didn't deal with except my grandparents, my mom's father and mother. They didn't deal with Slacky. Her family like that didn't deal with her except for them while she was, pregnant. But then once she had us and once my father completely split off, then it's like, oh, hey, come back to the family. Right. You understand? And the only time they really messed with me and my sister was when they needed some type of manual labor done. You understand? Or if they wanted to receive, some type of, I guess you'd say, glory from us in sports. Right. You understand? That's really the only time that my mother's family would sit there and mess with me and my sister like that.
Right. And which is a heavy point, if I could.
Go ahead.
Like you said, because a lot of Christians think by intermingling, like that's going to make all the sides come together. Now black and white is going to come together. That's not the case at all.
Right.
Because we all know what happened in slavery. The master had plenty of interracial kids.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Was some interracial kids brought into the family? Or was some interracial kids goddamn slaves?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Them interracial kids was doing manual labor. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Them interracial kids was in the goddamn field picking cotton, in the kitchen cooking. They wouldn't tell us, bring me some lemonade, nigga. And no, they wasn't doing that. They was the ones bringing the lemonade. You get what I'm saying? So just because you interracial relationship doesn't mean that you get accepted like you just brought out from your own personal experience. Only when it benefits them. Let you get an NBA contract. Let you been 7 feet tall, dunking on everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm
Football
saying?
star.
Yeah, they'd have been proud.
Right.
And that's my that's my grandson right there.
That's my boy.
That's my boy. You know what I'm saying? They've been at the bar getting a drink.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Can I get your drink, sir? Yeah. You drink, sir? Yeah, half and half. Kind of like my grandson. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that's how wicked this world is and how wicked these people are. Just because, like you said, we're in a interracial relationships doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Man.
Right.
Get back to the scripture.
All right, you 12. Yeah, go ahead.
To end the 14.
It's like we are
They're 14-3. So lucky.
okay.
They had the 3. So lucky. I'm gonna back up some so everybody get the story again.
All right.
It says, let me pick up. I'm gonna just take it from the top.
That's fine.
Then his father and his mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brother or among all my people that thou,
Go ahead.
That thou goest and take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines?
And so Samson's parents were upset that he sat there and took a wife of their enemies. You understand? They wanted him to marry amongst his nation and strengthen the bonds of our people, especially with him being one of the judges that was chosen by the Most High God.
Right.
Go ahead.
And Samson said unto his father, get her for me, for she pleaseth me.
And Samson ignored all that, and he was like, hey, I like that. You know what I'm saying? I like how she looks. I want that. Go get her for me if you could. You see, that's just a way to let us know not to let our lustful desires to sit there and control us as a people.
Right.
And saying you do so, that's going to lead to not only the individual's downfall, but it's going to lead to the downfall of the entire nation. And saying, we sit there and we want all of the love and acceptance of our oppressor, and shoot, and in doing all that, next thing you know, he's stealing land. You know what I'm saying? He's taking our children and our women, because we already know there's an abundance of sisters missing, whether it's in the ghettos, the reservations, or the barrios.
Right.
And saying we already know all that. And saying we got to learn as a people to take our love away from America. You're saying away from our oppressor, away from the Asians and the Arabs, East Indians, Africans, all these different heathen nations. Because every time something little happens to these people, we always go up in arms and fighting for them tooth and nail. You say when 9/11 happened, we was up in arms for the Arabs. When COVID started popping off, we was up in arms for the Asians. And so we got to forget all about these heathens, because out of all that we're doing, what are they doing for us? What are they doing for all the sisters that have gone missing in the reservations? What have they done for the Hispanic children locked up on the borders, being sexually molested and coming up missing? The women who are having hysterectomies, it's like a forced hysterectomies. What are they doing for them? So they ain't doing a goddamn thing, and we should not be sitting there trying to give them something that they won't even give back to us. Go ahead.
Right. What you bring it out is another heavy point. I ain't seen one goddamn Hamite talking about Black Lives Matter. That's so matter in the marches. I ain't seen one Chinese saying Black Lives Matter.
Right.
I ain't seen one Korean. You know what I'm saying? I ain't seen one Muslim. I ain't seen them. I've only seen the destroyer of Israel and the goddamn oppressor who is the devil, the Bible speaks of.
Right.
And he's not down there because Black Lives Matter. He's down there to help to keep because whenever there's some violence involved, guess who's the one doing it?
Right.
Guess who's the one busting the windows?
Right.
Guess who's the one robbing and looting?
Right.
Guess who's the one destroying and burning down the goddamn city?
Right.
The oppressors.
As I said, lucky. And not only do we not see them talk about, Black Lives Matter, but we don't see them talking out about the ICE facilities, the inhumane conditions that our brothers are living in on the borders. The only time we've seen anyone talk out about it was the LGBTQ community, and that was just because they said that they got brothers in there, and by their brothers they meant other homosexuals.
Right.
They meant other transgenders and lesbians. These other people live in this abominable lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? They aren't speaking about all of the different tribes locked up in there. You know what I'm saying? The Hispanic tribes in there. And not only is nobody talking about the ICE facilities, but nobody's bringing up the land theft from so-called Native Indians, with Trump's wall being built, the graves that have been desecrated. Ain't nobody bringing any of that up. And so we got to learn, these heathens don't give a damn about us as a people.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what time period we're in. Go ahead.
God. Judges 14:4. But his father and his mother knew not that it was the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines.
And so Samson's parents didn't know that the reason he wanted to get with this disgusting Philistine was something of the Lord.
The Lord put it in his heart.
Right. And so the Lord always has used not only the nation of Israel, certain individuals in it, but he's also used these heathens in order to, better the lives of his chosen people.
Right.
And this is just one of the Lord's many steps. Because the Lord, he is a masterful tactician. And that's how you know that we are of the 12 tribes of Israel, because we take after him. And saying we're the best tacticians out there.
Right.
Go ahead.
For at the time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
So the Philistines were ruling over Israel. Go ahead.
Then when Samson, Judges 14:5. Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and it came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him.
And so when Samson was going down into Timnath to go see this heathen that he wanted to, wife to make his own, a young lion ended up jumping out on him, roaring at him, and of course we already know, so it's like a lion jumps out on anybody, it's gonna attack him.
Right.
Yes, you
And
understand?
Go
ahead.
And also, just to make sure people understand the story, and once more, he wanted to marry this heathen, but the reason he wanted to marry the heathen was because the Lord put it in his heart for him to marry this heathen.
Right.
Because the Lord wanted to use Samson to free Israel.
Right.
You understand? He had a mission for him. So don't think that Samson was going against the Lord when he done this.
Right.
Samson was doing what the Lord put in his heart for him to do, as we just clearly just read.
Right.
Judges 14:6. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rented a kid.
Damn. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson, and it's like you look up the definition of rent for me, and saying just so our viewers can know what it is that means. I know you already know the definition because we gone over it multiple times in class. We don't have a compact Bible dictionary back there. You understand? But the scriptures say that Samson rented that lion like he would a kid. You understand? Like a baby sheep. And a lot of us, once we go over this definition, a lot of our people sit there and think that is impossible. But you got to remember, when the Spirit of the Lord comes upon you, you can do impossible things. So you can do things that we've used as being, it's just unfathomable. But just like Samson did it, you understand, priests and prophets after and before Samson have done it. Saying priests and prophets within the Hispanic and Native Indian tribes have done such things that have been seen as being impossible.
Yeah, the right definition is not popping up for it.
All right, 1 second. I got you.
All right, I got one.
Oh, you got it?
This is not the one I was looking for, but it's a help so people can understand. A large tear in a piece of fabric. So basically, to rent is to rip something, to destroy something. Salakia, these definitions, you got to try to get as close to the KJV
Right.
definition as possible.
Yeah.
So, but to rent is to destroy something, basically. You get what I'm saying? Like when David heard that, even though Saul was hunting him down, when David heard that Saul and Jonathan died, he rent his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Ripped his clothes up, man. He was distraught. That's how he did that. That's
Right.
how Samson did the line.
Right. I was saying, I found the exact definition of it. Really, you just type in the word definition and then you know what it means. So it says to rent, to separate into parts with force or violence. You know, so just like you brought out how it is that David rented his garment, you understand, his clothing when he found out that King Saul was trying to kill him.
Yeah.
You understand?
When Jonathan died, when he found out Jonathan died, you know what I'm saying? He rent his clothes and put the dust on his head like he was messed up.
John.
You know what I'm saying?
He said Samson sat there and did the same thing with this lion right here. You're saying ripped it apart.
Right, damn right. Just imagine ripping a piece of paper.
Right. Hey, I say just like it said, as he would have rent a kid. You know what I'm saying? A sheep, a small sheep, a baby sheep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That like, shoot, that is something that is just so hard to imagine and to understand. But we got to remember that the spirit of the Lord that came upon this brother.
Right.
We got to remember that the Lord had also blessed this brother before birth. You understand? But I wanted to get for us to get understanding of what can happen when the spirit of the Lord comes upon you. Is that it ain't as amazing as tearing a lion apart with your bare hands, but I mean it's still something that for most of our nation, especially with so many of us have been in the jail and prison systems, it's something that is more easier for us to understand, you could say.
Right.
But this is in the book The Indian Wars that we brought out before in class on page 20. This is taking an account during the Spaniards' Hernando de Soto expedition. I got you. You know what I'm saying? And it's talking about a chief, Uriatina, who was a Temucan chief. It's on page 20, and it reads, as the chief approached the conquistador, and this is talking about De Soto. This is after De Soto had sat there and enslaved his tribe. They went to war for a little bit until our brother was eventually conquered. So it says, as the chief approached the conquistador, he raised his shackled fist and slammed them into De Soto's face. De Soto slumped to the ground, bleeding from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. He remained unconscious for half an hour. You know what I'm saying? So for any of our people that have ever been in handcuffs, I mean, we already know how hard it is to sit there and muster up enough strength alone to hit someone so hard in the face. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That not only does it knock them out, but they start bleeding from their nose and their mouth. And it leaves them unconscious for half an hour. You know what I'm saying? That's because the spirit of the Lord that came upon that brother. You know what I'm saying? And when the Lord sits there and blesses you, I mean, you can do such incredible things. You understand?
Yeah, right.
Slacky. Say, go ahead and go to verse 7. So we might not think that that is something so incredible, but shoot, the shackles back then, not only did those weigh a hefty weight, not only were they uncomfortable, bulky, but they was mainly intended so someone could not lift their hands to resist these devils.
To attack somebody and knock them unconscious.
Right. Right, exactly.
Judges, I'm gonna finish up 6.
That's fine.
Judges, the end of 6. And he had nothing in his hand, but he told his father, done. Judges 14-7. And he went down and talked with the woman.
Slaggy. Reread bottom of 6. After he had nothing in his hand.
But he told his father.
He told not.
And he told not his father or his mother what he had done.
Go ahead. You 12.
14. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well.
So Samson, after ripping this lion to pieces, he sat there and he went down to this heathen, talked to her, got to know her a little bit, and she pleased him. You understand? She made him happy. And that's something that us as a nation have to realize, is that we can't sit there and depend on our emotions when it comes to really any and everything.
Right.
I'm saying we depend on so many of us depend on our emotions today, especially when it comes to our oppressor. I mean, all that's gonna do is lead to the downfall of our nation.
Right.
Just like it has been for 400 years. And so many of our people want to sit there and join hand in hand with our oppressor, expecting for him to show some type of, mercy or, brotherhood to us. And at the end of the day, I mean, he views us as he always has, which is as a bunch of animals.
And right. And if I could.
Go ahead.
Like that right there, that emotional thing, that is the premise of Christianity.
Right.
Christianity is about your emotions. How do I know Christianity is about your emotions? Because Christianity is about what? Making you feel good.
Right.
Feeling good is an emotion. That's why Christianity doesn't give a damn about the sins you commit. You understand? In the blood of Jesus. That's all Christianity cares about.
Right.
Feeling good. So if you want to feel good, hey, you keep doing what you do. That's that Christianity.
Right.
You understand? But if you want to be good, follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, and serve the Most High, and I.S.U.P.K. under commanded GEN.YAHANNA.
Right.
Verses 14-8. And after a time, he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion.
Go ahead.
And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating. And it came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told them not that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
And so Samson ended up eating the honey out of the carcass of that lion. So he didn't sit there and break one of the Lord's laws and start eating the meat of the lion that he had previously ripped to pieces. And even after all that he went through, fighting the lion, going and having pillow talk with this woman that he was interested in, and then journeying back to his parents. I mean, he still managed to take a little something back to him so they could, enjoy that honey.
Right.
You understand? Which is something that the Lord, nation of Israel, which is, to take care of your parents, especially when they're elderly. He's saying that right there alone is showing brotherhood to him. Because really, he could have just sat there, ate the honey, dipped off, brought his parents back, nothing. Go ahead.
Judges 14:10. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do.
So Samson's father, after eating the honey, after getting a little bit of rest in, he went down to the heathen woman, really to her father, to inquire about his son being able to marry her. And in doing so, Samson ended up making a feast. And he used the young men around him. He gave them brothers orders to do this and that. Showing that, true, us as a people, we've always had rank and order. And not only that, but that these young men respected Samson enough to sit there and follow his orders. Go ahead.
Judges 14:11. And it came to pass when they saw him that they brought 30
companions. Are you good?
I'm going to take it from the top.
That's fine.
Judges 14:11. And it came to pass when they saw him, they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If ye can certainly declare it to me within 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give thee 30 sheets and 30 chains of garment.
So Samson told these 30 men that had came up to him, that he'd give them a riddle. He'd give them a chance to damn near get rich. Giving them 30 sheets and 30 garments. Which, hey, that was very substantial back then, especially with how our garments were as a people. Go ahead.
But if ye cannot declare it to me, then ye shall give me 30 sheets and 30 changes of garment. And they said unto him, put forth the riddle that we may hear it.
And Samson let them know, but if you guys can't get that riddle in 7 days, then each and every one of you are going to owe me 30 sheets and 30 garments. And them companions sat there and accepted his challenge.
Right.
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, out of the eater come forth meat, and out of the strong come forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle.
So all they did was sit down for 3 days, and they could not figure out what the answer was to Samson's riddle. We're going to get into all of the crafty and underhanded things that they did in order to find out the riddle, all so that they could basically come up off of Samson. Come up off of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, just like these other nations always have.
Right.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, how you say that?
Entice.
That's a lot.
Entice
thou husband, and he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee in thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that? It is not so.
Is
it not so?
Slack, if you could read that from the top for me, real quick, Shah.
Judges 14:15. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband.
And so these 30 men, with them being so upset that they couldn't figure out Samson's riddle, directly to his wife, and basically told her to, manipulate her husband, all so that they could get the answer and basically get rich off of him. Go ahead.
And if I could.
Go ahead.
And what she should have did was immediately tell her
husband,
and then he would have went and handled that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It don't matter that they threatened her father's house or none of that. Samson would have been able to protect him.
Right.
But instead, well, we're about to get it. entice their husband that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee in thy father's house with fire. Have he called us to take that we have?
I'm saying they wanted to know, should you have us come here all so your husband could sit there and offer this proposition, this riddle, so you can take everything that we have,
Right.
take all of our riches, which has always been the spirit of not only our oppressor, but these different heathen nations, thinking that, oh, true, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians they're coming to us. They want what it is that we have. You're saying this and that. And not only that, but us as a people, we've always had that spirit about our own.
Right.
You're saying, especially when it comes to the so-called Native Indians. You're saying we like to think that blacks and Hispanics are just trying to get some type of check from the government whenever our brothers claim to be, native. You know what I'm saying? Whenever they should really show that they are one with us, and we want to exile them and do everything in our power in order to make sure that they don't come up in the world.
Right.
But yet a devil can be 1/16th, 1/64th Cherokee, and hey, let's welcome him in with open arms. Let's make sure he gets everything that he needs in order to survive. Go ahead.
You don't even have to be that.
Right.
Only thing you got to do is to say you want to be down.
Right.
End of 14. Is it not so? Judges 14 and 16. Okay. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, Thou doest not, Salaki, thou doest but hate me, and lovest me not.
And so instead of Samson's wife sitting there and going to him and telling him about the threat that was issued against her and her father's household, she went along with everything. She ran to him crying, hooting and hollering, saying, oh, he didn't love her. And we're about to get into why it is that she says he doesn't love her.
Right.
Go ahead.
Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it to me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee?
And she sat there and told Samson, saying, you're gonna deliver this riddle with all of these goods on the line, and you haven't even told me the answer of it.
Right.
Saying he checked her and he let her know, hey, I haven't even told my parents. You're saying, so why would I sit there and tell you about it?
Right.
Saying, knowing damn well that she's gonna sit there and go back to her nation and inform them of what the answer is. Go ahead.
And this right here goes to show you the spirit of why you cannot marry outside your race, even though in this situation, this was done by the Lord. You understand? Right. The Lord made these things fall into place so he can do his job, so he can do his work. But at the end of the day, it is not meant for you to marry outside your race, because once more, this is a clear example of how the heathen nations will never, ever, ever betray their own. You will take on the heathen customs before the heathen take on Israelite customs.
Right.
Each and every time. Like being that she's married to Samson, she should be taking on his custom. She should be taking on the custom of loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Her loyalty should be to him.
Right.
But she clearly just said, the children of my people.
Right.
You doing this to the children of my people. Like, bitch, when you marry me, it's supposed to be my people, not yours.
Right.
You're supposed to be worried about what I'm worried each and every time. Each and every time. It's lucky.
Oh, you're 12. Let's say, hey, that led into one of these pages I want to get into. You're saying in the Indian Wars. But before we did that, that was just such a heavy point you brought out of how it is that we not only take on their customs, but I mean, how it is they always end up, like you say, manipulating us into taking their customs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can look at, for instance, what's going on in Louisville, Kentucky with the sister that was sadly and ruthlessly murdered by those police officers. Saying you can look at I believe it's the attorney general out there, saying a black man, but yeah, he's married to an oppressor. You understand? And just like Samson's wife sat there and cried to him and was telling him how he's got to do this and do that, saying we got to realize that, hey, that oppressor sat there and told the attorney general the same damn thing.
Right.
And she told him, hey, these cops, they got families. This Breonna Taylor, she might have had some issues with substance abuse, which is what they apparently brought out during the trials when they were, issuing the verdict on them police officers.
And if I could, real quick,
go ahead.
Like, what the hell does her getting shot in her own goddamn bed have to do with substance abuse?
Right.
What the hell? That goes to show you the wickedness. Keep going.
Right.
My fault.
Oh no, you're too wild. He said that's just the type of ways that our oppressor manipulates us when we sit there and marry them. He's saying you can't speak out against the wickedness that is being done to your nation. You're saying you can't talk about the 400 years of oppression.
Right.
Saying you can't even be involved in any type of movement that is geared towards your people, or it's going to cause some type of strife in your household.
Right. Yeah, I'm right.
He said, but
she like you said, the attorney general's wife. She was, why dost thou hate me?
Right.
That you try to convict the children of my people.
Right.
Like, that's her right there.
Right.
It's a lucky.
That's spot on. So, but I want to bring out an example from the Indian Wars that we had previously brought out. So on page 19, to show you that no matter how long we sit here and mingle amongst these damn animals, I mean, they're never going to change.
Right.
So page 19 says, De Soto found Juan Ortiz, a white man and former member of the Narvaez expedition, which had landed in Florida in 1528. And for those of us that don't know, this was basically a decade before Hernando de Soto's expedition. And so this man was living amongst, natives or Hispanics, you could say, for an extended period of time. Ortiz was living the life of a village Indian and fluent in the Slakia. Slakia. I always get tongue twisted on it. Timucuan language. Ortiz agreed to join the expedition, but continued to dress and behave as a Native American. So that just goes to show you what joining to these people will get you. So just like it got our Hispanic brothers, all this turmoil during this expedition, and not only that, but we also had what we would have portrayed as our own sitting there and betraying us and causing all types of strife amongst our people. And so that's the type of thing that you get when you accept these devils into our communities.
Right. Any heathen.
Right. You can't say it don't matter if it's a devil, if it's an Arab, an East Indian, Asian, African. You say you can go out on the Navajo Nation and you'll see where Arabs got jewelry shops set up where they're selling traditional indigenous jewelry.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Judges 14 and 17 from the top.
You got the mic?
It's acting out.
Oh, all right.
And she wept before him 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him.
And so for 7 days, Samson's wife sat there and cried and moaned about him not telling her the secret to his riddle, instead of her revealing the threat against not only her life, but the life of her father's household. And saying, doing so, I mean, shoot, hey, that saddened Samson. You understand? That laid grief heavily upon that brother's heart. Just like nowadays, you understand, whenever a brother sees their rib down, seeing her sad, moping around and crying, I mean, hey, we got that spirit put on us, like, damn. You know what I'm saying? She's really hurting, you know, saying this and that. I gotta make her feel better some type of way. And that's the same spirit that was put on to Samson.
But in this case, if I could,
go ahead.
I think when it says that she lay sore upon him, like he was tired of hearing her bitch and complain.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was sick of it. He's like, all right, I'll tell you, shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody's laying sore on you, you just can't take it no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why another scripture is like how the women, I'm paraphrasing here, is how, you know what I'm saying, the women, when they upset, you know what I'm saying, like has no fury, like you rather dwell with a dragon.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me look it up. Come on.
Like that's what he's dealing with. That's why he was like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. One more question.
Some question.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, so I ain't gotta keep dealing with this mess. I'm sick of it. You know what I'm saying?
John.
One more question.
You want me to pull that for you guys, on?
Yeah, if you could.
I believe I got it. It's lucky.
You can't find it, don't sweat it.
Come.
You get it next time.
Last one, it's lucky. I think I got it. I would say this isn't the exact one that you'd wanted, but I believe it serves the same purpose.
Go ahead.
Proverbs 21 and verse 9. It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house.
That's what he's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? It's one of those situations where you like, just shut the hell up.
Right.
You understand? That's one of them situations. That's why he just broke down and told her. You know what I'm saying? That's why he just broke down and told her. What he really should have did was argued her ass into the ground.
Right.
Well, that's all I want to bring up.
Weird. All right, go ahead.
Because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people.
Sly, you read that from the top if you could.
Judges 14 and 17. And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people.
And so after all of that crying and begging and getting on her man's nerves, instead of telling him of the threat against her life by her people, she went there and she told the secret of that riddle to her people, and to the same men that threatened her life and the life of her father's household.
Right.
And that just goes to show you who the loyalty of these other nations actually lie to.
Right.
Because otherwise, if her loyalty was truly to her husband, I mean, she would have told him about everything. She wouldn't have sat there and basically, annoyed him into the ground.
Right. Damn right. Judges 14 and 18. And the man of the city said unto him on the seventh day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if he had not plowed my wife hither.
It's like plowed with.
Yeah, right. Well, Will Smith, like, see?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plowed with my hither.
Heifer.
Salakia. Had not plowed with my heifer, he had not found out my riddle.
Shit, if I could.
I related that all. Let me read that from the top.
All right.
Judges 14 and 18. And the man of the city said unto him on the seventh day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if he had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle.
So if you could look up the biblical definition of plowed, because I say he ain't talking about. Oh, so like I was gonna say, he ain't talking about laying with his wife.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Cap?
Who was saying that? The Canaanites saying that? The Hamites
The Philistines.
No, that's Samson that's saying that. If you had.
Oh yeah, so it's like
it. Plow with my heifer.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he is talking about his the Delilah bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I was saying, it's like basically the biblical definition of plowed is to divide. You're saying, so if the Philistines didn't sit there and divide his wife from him, you're saying turn her from him in order to figure out what the answer to his riddle was, then they would have never have gotten it.
Right.
Understand? Which, true, if she was of his people, you're saying of his nation. Say, as you brought out yesterday in the class, Officer Isaiah, if she was a ride or die, she would have never have sat there and revealed that riddle.
Damn right. Damn right. She'd have been like, I don't care what the consequence is.
Right.
I'm not trading on the auto.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
not trading on the squad.
God. You say, and that's that's how our women were back then.
Right.
Understand? Shoot, even today, Slacky, till this day, we still have some women that are, ride or die women.
Damn right.
They won't sit there and turn on their man even, for $1 million, even if it is death, like this heathen did on Samson.
Right. Damn right. Judges 14 and 19. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him.
We know what happened last time the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson.
Right.
Go ahead.
And he went down to Ashton and slew 30 men of them.
How many?
30 men of them.
And so just like last time when the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson and he ripped a lion to pieces with his bare hands, this time he sat there and he slew 30 Philistines. He's saying 30 men. Some of us can't even imagine being in an average fist fight with 2 people.
Right.
And so just imagine just how much power this brother had.
Right.
Go ahead.
And took their spoils
Mm-hmm.
and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle.
And then, so after he slew these 30 men that threatened his wife, and saying they tried to manipulate her to find out the riddle and to basically underhand Samson, after he slew them, he rewarded those that actually, were able to explain the riddle. Saying they actually figured it out.
Right.
Go ahead.
And his anger was kindled,
Mm-hmm.
and he went upon to his father's
It's
house.
like he went up.
And he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion.
You understand? And for the end of verse 19, I mean, that is just so heavy of us learning what it is that we can accomplish when the Spirit of the Lord comes upon us as a people. And so just like Samson was able to take out 30 men, which so many of us view as being quite literally impossible.
Right.
I mean, we got to remember back then when, we was at war with the French and the English, the Spanish, the Russians, Portuguese, the Dutch, all these different devils, we were able to do some pretty unimaginable feats. You're saying, like the Aztecs, one warrior could sit there and take out a dozen conquistadors. And someone that was very underarmed, sitting there fighting fully girded soldiers in metal armors and metal weaponry with muskets, and yet all they had was some glass blades. Right. And it's saying wood objects to bludgeon these people to death, and they was taking out a dozen of them by themselves.
Right.
Go ahead.
And if I could, a couple of quick points I want to make. I'm gonna make them real quick.
Go ahead.
Like we believe the stories when we hear stories of Alexander the Greek.
Right.
You understand, like how he went to the battlefield and killed 20,000 people by himself.
Right.
Like we see that. Well, he was a devil, so you get what I'm saying. Like when we hear the stories of them Hamite warlords that be all, I forget what the thing is that they chew. That basically is like cocaine, and get them all zooted up and geeked up, and then they go out there and shoot a bunch of people with the AK, and walk out of there unscathed. We believe them stories. You understand?
I would say, like the biggest one we believe is, the Moabites going out there, them having these top warriors that can quite literally take out armies of people.
Kung fu masters.
Yeah.
Right. Like they was chi blocking.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even use their arms to fight back.
Right.
We believe that crap. But here's the killer part. 2 points real quick.
Go ahead.
Like we don't believe it when we're reading about black people doing it.
Right.
When we read about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians doing it, it sounds unbelievable. When we hear the stories of Geronimo, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
When we hear the stories of the Gadite warriors doing it. What's the other one, man? You know who I want to go to? That one that was scalping the crap out of them devils, man. He's on your shirt. Remember that one shirt with the forefathers?
Not off the bat.
He's a Gadite legend. I'll have it for you next week. I'm gonna make sure I bring it out, man. But like that's what he was known for. They said like he would always basically everybody he would kill, he would scalp them, and he was walking around with like 100 scalps on him. You know what I'm saying? Like from all his enemies. Each time he touched the battlefield, when the Europeans would see him, they would take off running. And like, nah, you know what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like they buddies are showing up with all this gun. Like,
right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like the top of their head is missing. They survived, but like their skull is showing. You get what I'm saying? They feared him. He was taking out 20 and 30 with no problem. You get what I'm saying? Like we hear them stories and we like, nah, that's not possible. You get what I'm saying? But here's the killer part. When the Europeans
Bluetooth device is ready to pair. Bluetooth mode.
When the Europeans is telling these stories and they're talking about their warriors X, Y, and Z, they're actually getting it from where? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Those they take our stories and refurbish them to make it look like it's their warriors. when that's not the case at all. These are actually the stories of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's the great warriors that's going into these battlefields, killing 20, 30, 50, 100 men with no problem.
Right.
Like what's the dude named the Moabite King Cow and his warriors? Like they supposed to be so top-notch warriors. Lubu, that's the dude name. The Moabite warrior. Like he's supposed to be the most feared on the battlefield. Not at all. You know what I'm saying? These are the warriors that they take and they refurbish and reincarnate them for their own legends when they're really blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's the point I want to make.
All right, well, I'm gonna bring up this quick example, just so shoot,
bring it up.
Like you said, I was gonna say that there's only one nation of people who's actually done, these amazing feats of being only a handful and chasing off an entire army of people.
Right.
Same, but this is out of the Indian Wars, page 101, the War of 1812, the Battle of Brownstown. Tecumseh fearlessly set an ambush with only 24 warriors. He waited until the much larger U.S. force was fording a wide stream and sprung the ambush at incredibly close quarters. His 24 warriors killed 18 soldiers, wounded 12, and routed the entire force of 200 soldiers. Their American troops were so terrified by the sudden hand-to-hand combat, war whoops, and casualties that more than 70 deserted in a chaotic stampede. I was about to say, right. So that scripture can only pertain to one nation of people.
Right.
I don't see 24 Africans sitting there and routing an army of 200 soldiers.
If I could.
Go ahead.
In yesterday's class, we brought out when David took down Goliath, the whole Hamite army did what? Turned and cut out.
Right.
Ran. King David was just slaughtering the rest of them like it was child's play.
Right.
You understand? Like Saul told him to bring 100 foreskins. He brought 200 and a couple of heads because that's that's what Israel do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Like it's only one nation of people, like you said, with this spirit. Because the Lord is always with Israel, man. You get what I'm saying? Only way the Lord is not with Israel is when we decide not to serve the Lord. Point blank, period.
Right.
When we decide not to serve the Lord. Other than that, even the heathens knew. Even the Hamite king knew. Cap, if you can help me out, that scripture where the heathen king is asking, like, how do we defeat the Israelites? Right. And he called for his council, and the councilman tells him, as long as they serve their God, they're untouchable. But if you can get them to not serve their God, then they can be touched.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's in I believe it's in Judith.
Judith.
The story of Judith in the Apocrypha.
See if I can find that.
It's called the Book of Judith.
Okay.
Like the second or third chapter.
But like that was such a heavy point because as long as we got the Lord with us, they can't stop us. Everybody look at Samson, like Samson was sinning against the Lord when really the Lord had made Samson do all these things because he was using Samson to destroy the Hamites.
Right.
He was using Samson. He wanted Samson to marry that heathen woman.
Oh, right. He didn't want him to marry the heathen woman, but he did want to destroy the Hamites.
Right. Well, I was just saying that from what the scripture says, sir.
What precept was that, if you could?
Where he married the heathen woman?
Yeah, read that. Let me hear that precept.
It's towards the beginning of 14.
Yeah, I'm about to go back to it. All right, I'm going to start at 3. Judges 14:3. Then his father and mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren and among all the people that goeth? Salaki, let me start that over. Judges 14:3. And his father and mother said unto him, is there never a woman amongst the daughters of thy brethren or among all my people that thou goest and take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her from me, for she pleases me well. But his father and mother knew not that it was the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at the time the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
Okay, no sweat.
So, like, I interpret that like the Lord, the reason that he wanted this goddamn Hamite, because he knew it was unlawful for him to marry the Hamite. He knew that. But the reason he did is because the Lord put that in his heart, because the Lord already knew that he was going to use Samson to destroy him all.
Right. The way you want to say it is, Samson wanted to get the heathen, and the Lord used the fact that he wanted to get with that heathen to, okay, well then you go destroy the Philistines, which you wanted to get that heathen. Not that the Lord wanted him to break his own laws that he said. Right. Is that way? That's like contradicting the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Where the Lord don't change. Where he says, the Lord. So the Lord could have used another reason to have an occasion against the Philistines, of course.
Right.
As you know. It's the Lord. Right. But since he wanted that heathen so bad and he was going to get that heathen regardless, the Lord used that to be an occasion against the heathen. It wasn't that the Lord was like, all right, I want you to get the heathen, even though I told you not to get heathens. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just the Lord used it.
Well, I was thinking of it, if I could, sir. Okay. Like, because you know how the scriptures say all the things are here for our learning. Mm-hmm. Like the scriptures is here for us to learn, mm-hmm. even like Samson. Like, because at the end of the day, none of these heathens is ever going to change on their own people. Right. Like when the Israelites, no matter if it's an Israelite man or an Israelite woman, no matter if it's a heathen man or a heathen woman, when it comes to us and them, they never ever been to our law, statutes, and commandments. They never ever been to our customs. We always been to theirs. Right. And this is a clear example of it once more transpiring. Mm-hmm. Like she didn't bend to Samson's will. Right. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, she still served her people. Like a nigga marrying a Chinese woman, he's marrying Kung Fu. Right. I was listening when you broke it down. Oh. We gonna niggas be wearing kimonos. Yeah. Right. That's what they're gonna be wearing, Right. So that's why I was saying that, Sir Salaki.
You too are. I'm saying the way you want to say it. So people don't try to say, the Lord made me get high. He knew I was going to get high.
So the Lord know my heart.
He knew I was going to get. He wanted me to get high. Actually,
he knew I like swishers.
He knew I was going to come to the UPK later on down the road. The Lord don't tempt man to sin. There's a scripture about that.
Sir.
Y'all keep going. I'm pull that scripture real quick.
Sir. Lucky. Go ahead, money man. It's all you. You need me to pick up? Kind of lost my place. I think I'm at the end of 20, going into 20. Or you want me to take 19 from the beginning?
You can do 20.
Okay. Judges 14 and 20. And Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Judges 15 and 1. But it came to pass, wherein a while after the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife and a kid, and he said,
with a kid,
with a kid, and he said, I will go to my wife unto the chamber, but her father would not suffer him to go in.
It says so after a certain period of time, Samson went back to his wife with a kid. You're saying a sheep, and her father ended up stopping him from going into the chamber because, he already gave her away to another man to be his wife.
Right.
If I could, I got the one precept we needed real quick. If we could just interject real quick.
I said we ended it once you pull that one.
James 1 and 13. Let's get James chapter 1 verse 13.
So James 1 and 13?
Mm-hmm. James chapter 1 verse 13. New Testament. And there's some more chicken salad back there too, if anybody wants some.
Come on. I got it. Book of James, chapter 1 and verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man.
Right. So the Lord didn't make it so he wanted the heathen.
Right.
As you're going to read, it's going to tell you Samson wanted the heathen. So
Right.
like I just said, like I broke it down earlier. Go ahead. The Lord used that as the occasion.
Right.
Go ahead, Ward.
Okay. Verse 14. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed.
Right. The things that entice you, the things that you already want.
Right.
The things that you battling with in the spirit, that's against the Lord, is things that you kind of want. The reason you battling with, we want to kill, shoot, and beat the shit out of motherfuckers, because you really want to do it.
Right.
And because the Lord is just like trying to test you every time. The Lord sending somebody to piss you off. The Lord doing this, the Lord doing that. No, it's because you already want to do this stuff. You want to sleep with that whore. You want these things. It's not from the Lord. Them lusts come from you.
Right.
And that's where it come from.
Right. And the Lord has just used that.
In Samson's occasion, the Lord used to make him fight men, which in turn helped Israel.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The Lord just used his lust, but had that lust.
Right.
The Lord would have still had him fight the Philistines.
Right.
You know what I mean?
In another way.
Yeah, it was just his lust. There was no stopping that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that was from him. Go ahead. Any more in the scripture?
Come on. Verse 15. Then when lust hath conceived.
So it already in him. Now it's the lust for it.
Right.
Now you want to get high. You want to sleep with that whore. Go ahead.
It bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death.
Right. The Lord doesn't want us to die. He said, let us choose life or death. Because what happened to Samson? He ended up dying. You understand? He wasn't translated like the other brothers, you know what I mean? Who just went away on a chariot by the Lord.
Right.
Like I think it was Isaiah. You know what I mean? He just died. He died. You know what I mean? He was killed early.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not in the old age, none of that.
Right.
Lived a long life and had tons of wives and kids. He got captured after that shit. They took out his eyes. He worked for I think 5 years on the mill with no eyes. And then go ahead, check that.
Yeah, I don't know who this is.
Somebody knocking on the door trying to come to class, or
I don't know what he's doing, but
well, tell him class is over with.
it's an old school.
Oh, he already walked off.
Don't worry about it. I'll get more fire.
Yeah, just see what he if he was trying to see something. But yeah, so that's where lust come from. Lust come from you or that person. You know what I mean? It wasn't the Lord. Oh, the Lord made me do it.
Right.
That's never the case.
Come on. It's just a Christian standpoint to go about it, really.
Yeah, that's
to make an excuse for
sin.
Come on.
That's the Christian way. You know what I mean? I swear the Lord was tempting me, man, because every time I came around, that chick was there and she was half naked and she was this and she was that.
You don't like that.
Do we have any waters?
Yeah, I think they're in that blue container. You guys, there's a box over it, but you got to check that blue. Alright, so I right here. That's one. Take another shot real quick. Anyone want a shot? Yeah.
I've been drinking clear, so not the best mixture.
But yeah, so when lust is conceived, then it brings forth sin. You understand the things, And when it says conceived, that means in your mind. In your mind, it's like I'm gonna do this. That when you get to that point, now it's gonna bring the sin. When in your mind, you basically already decided you're gonna do it.
Right.
You understand? There's a point where every man just decides to do it. And he may think about it. It may be a small thought of him to go back, but he said he just keeps going forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's what it means when lust is conceived. Bringing forth sin, and after that sin, it's going to bring forth death.
Come on. So with that said, I'm going to hand the class over to Priest and Officer of 1,000, ISRAELITES. You got your binder?
him some nice pants. Where you be shopping?
Oh, I'll show you. You have to go there one day because I got to go back anyway and get some more.
Nice.
I.S.U.P.K. security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. started out on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves with the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is commandments, Numbers 18 and 21. Malachi 3 and 8 through 10 means tenth in the Hebrew, Ma'ashara. 10% of every penny increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatever sort of amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations.
Let me pull it up. I thought I had it.
The Feast of Tabernacles, which is going to be October. No?
I think that's last year's.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, that's not right. But it's still the same thing. Feast of Tabernacles.
It starts. I know it starts October 1st.
The Feast of Tabernacles, which is October 1st. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school to start wearing all black boots, shirts, pants, headbands, war scarf, and with that being said, imagine, which means to stand, wapanya, hakidum, which means to turn and face the east. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abano, Shabbat Shemayim, Quadash, Ayah,
Isupk,
Yahweh,
Malakwakat,
Watazarka,
Ayah,
I.S.U.P.K,
Baratazah,
Kawah,
Ayah,
Ayah,
Bashamayim,
Nathan,
Nathan,
Lano,
Lakam, Ka,
Wayam,
Kawam,
Wasalakino, Kabawathino,
Kabawathino,
Kasalakino,
Kasalakino,
Kabawathino,
Wala,
Tabaino,
Abayano,
Banazar 1,
Vanessa 1,
Abba,
I was
Hawashino,
shy now, Mayan,
Right,
Kaya, Laka,
Amalakwa,
Wa'ala,
Watapower,
Aman,
in the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh, thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth.
As
it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. Forgive us of our debts.
And forgive us of our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
our debtors.
And lead us not to temptation.
And lead us not into
But
temptation.
deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever. So be it.
So be it.
The prayer for the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Wayahweh Shai.
Wayahweh Shai.
Wam Maka'ala.
Wam Yaka'ala.
Wam Ya'ala.
Wala.
Salaki. Wam Hap.
Walahayim.
Mataz Abiyah.
Matazab Yabiyah.
Alawap Yohanna.
Alawap Yohanna.
Hazarayayim.
Alawap.
Salaki. I skipped all over that one. Halawapim.
Alawapim.
Hazarayayim.
Azarayim.
Hakwatazayayim.
Hakwatazayim.
Hakazayayim.
Hakayayim.
Walakwakim.
Walakwakim.
Yahweh. Ba'ashem.
Yahushua.
The water of
The water of mud.
The blessings in the English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shah.
And Yahushua.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commander General Yahanna.
Commanding General Yahanna.
The generals.
The generals.
The captains.
The captains.
The officers.
The officers.
The troopers.
The troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shah.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it.
Sir, which means return. Crazy salute to the children. Crazy salute to the teacher. Man of Israel. Isupk. Amaju. Barak. Yahweh Shem Yahushua Brakatah.
Yahweh Shem Yahushua Brakatah.
Crazy salute to the sisters online. Man of Israel. Isupk. Amaju. Barak.
Yahweh Shemar Al-Tan Ba'Shem Yahushua.
As a matah, class dismissed. That's ready.
You know how to cut that feed, Officer Isaac?
Not to.